Good morning, everybody. It's me, Mitch, here to talk about kind of a how-to thing, kind of a follow-up on all the videos we've been talking about living a primal lifestyle, about eating food off of wooden plates and using hunting knives and enhancing our feeling. And everybody seems to have really got excited about that, and I'm surprised. Well, maybe not surprised, but gratified, because I know that it is cool, that it is cool. And then the questions start coming up. What about this? What about that? What about the cutting board? How do you take care of it? How do you clean it? What about the knife? Is the knife that you bought any good? Did you get it yet? Have you tried it? What do you think of it? Question after question after question. I thought I'd just record a short little video and talk about all these little things. Try to answer all these questions. Don't expect this video to be very widespread because it's specialized. It's really just for those of you that think it would be cool to eat your steaks off of wood and cut it with a big knife. So let's talk about the different questions. Number one, let's talk about the wood plate or cutting board. The biggest concern about these, about any wooden product, is do they require any care? How do they hold up? And just as importantly, are they sanitary? You know, with a ceramic plate, you wash it with dish soap and everything, and it has no pores. It has no place for bacteria. But with these things, as well as cutting boards, there are considerations. So we have to kind of look at what the suggestions are for cutting boards. What are the suggestions for the care and feeding and keeping them sanitary of cutting boards? And it's very simple. It's very simple. There's two accepted ways of taking care of wood products like these, like plates, like cutting boards. One of them is oil, and the other is wax. Now, whatever you use on these products has to be food safe, of course. And a big, huge no-no, and I can't stress this enough, and we should know this as carnivores. You do not use any vegetable or seed oils on your wood products. And then people have a tendency to say, well, I want to use olive oil, or I want to use grapeseed, I want to use canola. It's oil, isn't it? Well, for the same reason we don't want to put it in our body, you don't want to put it on your cutting board. Number one, it oxidizes like crazy, gets rancid, and stinks. You don't want to do that. The best, at least hassle oil that I've found to keep wood products pretty good, believe it or not, is coconut oil. And I've been using coconut oil occasionally on my cutting boards. And it works good. It can stay a long time. It won't go rancid. It conditions the wood. It seals up the pores. And what I do is I had bought on Amazon, you can find it. I don't have links for it. But I bought some of these cheap little plastic squirt bottles. And I have coconut oil in this one. And I put a label on it. And I keep it up here in my cabinet, as you can see. And I also have some grapeseed oil that I use to season my carbon steel pan. But I keep the coconut oil up here, and I'll put it back now. And you just squirt a little bit on, and you take a rag or a paper towel and you wipe it. And you can do that after you've washed it. And it's great, and it's great. So that's all you need to worry about if you want to enjoy this primal experience. If you don't care, it'd probably be more convenient just to continue to eat off of a regular ceramic plate. But I gotta tell you, there is something to this, and more people are discovering it. Okay, so that's the board. Now, the second thing we talked about is the knife that you're going to cut it with, and I like Damascus knives, and the one I've been using is a handmade, kind of a collector's item by a relatively famous Japanese knife maker, and this is Damascus steel. Now, Damascus steel is a term used to talk about steel that is layered and forge welded, and then when it's ground, you grind through the different layers and you can see where each of the layers are, and that gives the blade a lot of strength because it's dissimilar steels, gives it a beautiful pattern, and generally these knives hold edges unlike anything that you've ever seen. And this knife, I have never sharpened it since I have it. I haven't used it a tremendous amount, but I have eaten steaks with it quite a bit and used it against wood cutting boards. It still retains sharp. And one of the ways to tell if a knife is sharp is you take a piece of paper, just a regular piece of copy paper, and you hold it like this so that you can put the knife on the edge. You put the knife on the edge and you cut. And if the knife is dull, it won't cut the paper like that. It'll just crumple it up. But if you've got a sharp knife, you can, like that. If you've got a sharp knife, you can cut the paper, and that tells you that that knife is sharp. Sharp enough to hurt yourself, certainly. Sharp enough to cut any meat or anything you're going to be cooking. So that's a good test. That's a good test to how, and this knife, which is pretty expensive, since it's a one-of-a-kind handmade by a famous artist in Japan. This is a collectible, but you can see that in knife collecting, if it's not a perfect knife and performs like a knife and holds an edge like a knife, it's not worth anything. It's not worth anything. This is worth something. And the reason that I don't want to keep using it to eat is because it is worth something. And I value it. So I'm going to stop eating with this knife. And I went on a little quest to find myself a knife that's cheap, that's affordable for people who want to have the experience of eating off of wood. So I went on Amazon and I started looking, and I wanted a Damascus knife, but I kind of knew that there has to be something a little hokey about a real Damascus knife that costs $40. But I did, after looking at the reviews, and I know some of them are phony, and reading up about it, and I did buy this one. And I bought this one with the intention of checking it out. If I thought there was something screwy with it, I would send it back. That's the great thing about Amazon. It costs $40. $40 doesn't get you much in a quality kitchen knife. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. Chef's knives, professional chef's knives, go into the thousands of dollars, especially if they're real Damascus blades. But we don't need that. We're not looking for that. We're looking for something to cut a steak with, for God's sakes. Maybe use as a cooking knife. So this thing looked good. Picture of it looked great. And there's some things about the construction of the knife that I know about as a knife collector that don't mean much to other people. But I can tell if it's a well-built knife, well-finished knife, decent steel, and whether it's going to last or not. And for $40, your expectations are generally pretty low. So this thing came, and it's from a company called Swiss Diamond. It's a knife that is licensed and actually manufactured in China like everything else is these days, but that's to be expected. Designed in Switzerland, it says. And they always put labels on these things designed to really be misleading. But to be honest, it's a well-made knife. I'll show it to you. It's every bit as good as any other knife in this price range and maybe better than most. It looks and feels good and certainly, I think, suits the purpose of just giving you that good feeling of eating off of a wood plate with a big hunting looking knife. Now, the thing comes in a beautiful box. I mean, it's really packaged incredibly, and it looks great. You pull it out of the box like this. They give you a really elegant looking little piece of paper that has some of their other shapes of knives that they make, and it tells you all about their lifetime warranty, and then a full paragraph of everything that warranty doesn't cover. For 40 bucks, the hassle of getting anything replaced by any company these days on any warranty, it is not even worth it. I consider these things throwaways. Something, you're not going to break this knife. If something ever happens to this knife that renders it useless, throw it away. Throw it away. I feel that way about pots and pans, even air fryers. Nothing is worth the hassle of trying to get it repaired unless it's something major and expensive. So let's take a look at this knife here. It comes in this package. So that's enough for the packaging. It has a blade guard, and I would recommend that once you take this off, you don't ever try to put it back on again because it's tight, and if you're not careful and you miss, you could seriously injure yourself. This is a severely sharp knife. So I'm going to take this off and we're going to throw it away. This knife, when I talk about sharp, this knife is sharp. Now, I haven't tried to cut the paper with it yet. When you look at this knife, you can see a Damascus pattern in it. You can see a Damascus pattern. And on the box, it says hammered Damascus, which to a knife collector or somebody that knows knives means it's real Damascus. I got news for you. As I suspected, it is just an etched pattern in a stainless steel blade. I don't care. I don't care. This is a $40 knife. If this was indeed true, real Damascus, the manufacturing process would make this a $200 knife. And we don't need a $200 knife. So that, believe it or not, doesn't bother me. I just wish they'd been more clear because I can look at this and tell. Most people can't. This is very well done. The name of the company is actually stamped in the blade, and it looks like what you'd find on a handmade knife. One of the most important things I look at in a knife is whether it's what they call a full tang knife or not. The tang is the part of the blade that sticks out and the handle goes on. Most cheap knives, most kitchen knives, have a tang that's just like a spike. They take one piece solid handle, they drill a hole in it, they fill it with epoxy, and they put the blade in and let it set. And the blade is attached to the handle and held on by epoxy. The other kind of knife is what's called a full tang knife. And if you look at the back edge of that, you can see that the actual blade is exactly ground to the shape of this handle and goes all the way around. And that is how a knife should be made. You can't break that. The handle's then put on each side of the tang with rivets, and then the whole mess is ground to a nice shape that feels good in the hand. And this knife feels great. This knife, as far as I'm concerned, is definitely, definitely better than many $100 knives I've seen. And I'm not trying to sell you this knife. I don't actually care. But I'm going to keep it and I'm going to use it because it is a 55 on the Rockwell hardness. It is a stainless steel blade. Should require almost no maintenance. Hopefully it won't require a lot of sharpening if it's that hard. And look, the first time I'm going to see what happens when I cut the paper. Look at that. It's like a razor. It is sharp. I could tell that because I felt the blade with my fingers. The only caveat I would say, if you do get this knife, be careful. Be careful. These things are sharp enough to really hurt yourself. Chefs use knives that are sharp because you can't be a good chef without a sharp knife. And we've all watched the cooking shows and we've all seen these guys almost cut their fingers off by accident and the ambulances come and take them to the hospital. Be careful with these things. This one is very comfortable in hand. I like it. I'm pleasantly surprised. I would have been more pleasantly surprised had this been a real layered steel Damascus blade. But who cares? It looks like Damascus. It's a great knife. I'm sure that cutting meat will be easy. And it's a chef's knife, so you can use this for anything. You don't even have to use this just to eat steak. This would be a great knife, just a general use knife in the kitchen where you need something sharp, especially when you're trying to cut raw meat. You need a really sharp knife to cut raw meat. Using a wood board instead of ceramic will keep this blade sharp. And that's one of the beautiful things about cutting on wood is it doesn't dull the blade. Yeah, it scratches the wood, but that's the purpose. So I've got a spot right over here in my knife rack. Just so happens that I haven't been using. And this knife is now going to become a permanent part of my kitchen tools. And I'm going to use it when I cook because it's just like a razor. And I'm going to use it to eat all my wooden plate, which I'm going to take care of with some coconut oil. And that's it. Not too much of a hassle. There is one thing that I find funny. And before some of you buy this knife and start writing me comments that I'm trying to kill you and give you cancer, I looked at this box that this knife came in, and there's a friggin' warning label on it. A warning label. So I said, what the hell is this? Right here, a warning label. And it says, warning, this product can expose you to chemicals including DEHP-BIS 2-ethylhexyl phthalate, which are known to the state of California to cause cancer and birth defects or other reproductive harm. For more information, go to www.p65warnings.ca.gov. California, in their infinite wisdom, has said that this stainless steel knife with a real wood handle will give you cancer and kill you. I think that we can all safely ignore this BS warning label. I've looked into it. It's nothing. Wash the knife before you use it. Maybe they put some preservative on it. Maybe they used a polish on it. There is no danger of dying of cancer or birth defects from using this knife. It is stainless steel. California, are you listening to me? California, you've got bigger problems. Instead of worrying about me dying of cancer from a stainless steel knife, why don't you clean up the crap that humans are depositing all over your cities? I think that's a little more harmful and unsanitary. I can't believe this world. Just when you think we have hit peak stupidity, I see a warning label like this. If this scares you, if you think California and nowhere else in the world feels it necessary to put a warning label on a knife that you buy, please don't buy it. Please don't buy it. It never fails. I thought I would bring that to your attention. So that's it. Wasn't such a short video after all, but hopefully maybe you were entertained or learned a little something about knives and about the care and feeding of wooden cutting boards. With that, it's early in the morning here. You got plenty of time now to take the rest of the day off and eat meat.